What up, yo? Mm. Ah, welcome again to YouTube Live. I'm back, and I'm here to talk about what my thoughts are regarding tonight's Watchmen season 1, episode 6, titled "This Extraordinary Being." All right, so heads up, spoiler alert, as always. This review contains spoilers. So this review is mainly for those of you, my fellow Watchmen fans who have also watched tonight's episode. Okay? Heck, sorry about that. All right, so last week was a filler episode focusing on Looking Glass, played by Tim Blake Nelson. Fantastic actor. We got to see a little bit of his character's background, what motivated him, and also remember last week we got a tease of the iconic scene from the graphic novel, the squid. They call it the 11-2. Um, Funny enough, the giant alien squid, whatever you call it, was not part of Zack Snyder's Watchmen movie in 2009. I think he altered that ending. But what ifs? Sometimes things don't work in movies. What work on pages. So I'm not too. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, why did not he stay faithful to the ending? But I digress. Um, so last week was very interesting for those reasons, and of course we got to see Adrian Veidt with many clone bodies. Well, now in tonight's episode, it's back to being about Angela Abar, played by Regina King. Angela Abar, aka Sister Knight. Now, by the end of last week's episode, Angela swallowed the memory pills belonging to her granddad. I believe that's her granddad, right? William Reeve. And today we find out that you're not supposed to swallow other people's memory pills. That's apparently the rule of thumb. Um, and so she overdoses and she goes into coma, and she, the effects of the pill start to kick in, and she sees the memories of William Reeves in tonight's episode. It was mostly just about that. So I guess you can argue also that tonight is somewhat of a filler episode as well. Although I must say, what is my overall verdict? Did I like the episode or did I not? My answer to that is I liked it. I grant that it feels a bit too long. I think it's about 1 hour and close to 1 hour and 6 minutes, I believe. I complained I complained this past Friday about Star Wars series The Mandalorian being too short. It was only at 37 minutes long. Now Watchmen is like an hour and 6 minutes. It's like, whoa there. Can we agree to a compromise here? Can we meet in the middle? So, despite tonight's episode being a bit too long, in my opinion, I liked it. I liked some of the creative choices too that comes with the episode, like the whole. William Reeve is a cop in his younger days, and so there are scenes. The way they transition from the precinct, from when he's inside the precinct, and then he goes outside to the neighborhood. He just like pushes the door, and the door's already like out in the middle of the street. That's fantastic. Things like that. The creative choices in tonight's episode, I think, are very inventive, imaginative, very cleverly done. So yeah, things like that. The door in the middle of the street. What else? I think they have another one. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank right now. I apologize. But anyway, fantastic. And the way, and the fact that they do the whole episode black and white, and whenever the present day tries to kick in, like that scene where um Angela's husband, Cal, is reading to Angela. It's like, hey, you're Angela, I'm your husband, you're born in Vietnam. Anytime that the present day starts, wants to or tries to kick in, you can tell the colors of the present day, kind of the shades of it at least, want to burst through as well. You could see glimpses of it, but the black and white overpowers it all the time. So I like that. I like that. And I think we've talked about this. That's one of the things um that's Damon Lindelof's style. You've seen it in the Leftover series, and you've seen it in Lost series, where I mentioned to you, so things can get really odd and sometimes confusing, but it's odd and confusing in an attractive, interesting way that you can't get enough of it. It doesn't put you off, right? Remember, I told you that, so I liked it very much. Um, Hi, Amy Regonaut. Yes, it's very artistic, definitely, and it's a female-led series by Regina King. To answer your question, Regonaut says, "What's up, my brother? What's up? What's up, Regonaut?" Okay, so back to my notes here before I lose my train of thoughts. Um, I'm gonna save the speech about the themes of tonight's episode by the end of this review later on. Um, that shot of William Reeve bursting through the window, you know, when he gets shot at the grocery store, and he jumps out the window, and then he just stands still, and he goes, the Matrix style, right? That's bullet time. I loved it. That was so cool. It's like freaking Wachowski and Zack Snyder and Damon Lindelof, the cross between those three. And I was just like, that's fantastic. Anytime they do that in any show or in any movie, I love it. as long it doesn't, as long it's, as long as that kind of effects doesn't put the story in the back seat. You know what I'm saying? I think that's my problem with many of the bullet times in Zack Snyder's movies. In that the bullet times become the main entertainment, became the main focus instead of the story. It's like, oh, look at another bullet time. Oh, look at that, another shot of him like floating in midair, and the camera goes 360. Fine, fine, that's cool. You get that once or twice. That's awesome, but make sure the story's solid too. And unfortunately, in Zack Snyder's movies, the focus is too heavy on the effects and the visuals. But I digress. But for tonight, in that shot, fantastic. Love it, love it, love it, love it. What did we learn from tonight's episode? From the flashbacks of William Reeves' lives. Life, not lives. We learned that he was once a cop, and in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the police system, or the law enforcement, I should say, is racist as hell. We learned that the legend of the hooded justice uh, is started by William Reeves. That's his style. That's his deal. I'm sorry. That's his creation, I should say. So, in the beginning of tonight's episode, we see Hooded Justice as a TV show, and some kind of the FBI show, like where, oh, you're about to expose, J. Edgar Hoover, stuff like that. It's like, oh, and then he beats up those guys. Turns out it's a TV show, right? And so Hooded Justice, by that point, in the present day, has been, um, how do you call it? He's become like a mythos, like a legend, like yeah, like Superman. Now we get to see the origin of Hooded Justice, and turns out he's an ordinary man who happens also to be a cop, and back in the day, and he's fighting this criminal underworld organization called Cyclops, which is apparently a bunch of Ku Klux Klans. Oh man, sorry. I just hit my nose in the microphone. Um, so that's what we learn about William Reef. So tonight is like it's a filler episode about William Reef. And the revelation at the end of tonight's episode, because William Reeve is now old and he's played by Louis Gossett Jr. Now we get to see, right? Finally, after what, 6 episodes, we finally get to see how the police chief, played by Don Johnson, got to end up on that tree hanging. Because the question all this time is like, how in the world can an old man, an old man in a wheelchair, hang a police chief in an oak tree like that? Like, how is that possible? Unless that old man has some, Dr. Manhattan power. Turns out he uses uh, that hypnotism that apparently the KKK used in Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in the day, where they hypnotize a whole theater full of black audiences to attack each other. It's insane. It's quite the concept. It's quite the concept. I give him that. But it goes to Damon Lindelof being odd and weird. That whole thing, hypnotism, really. But that's his way. Now, my reaction to all that is, I think we're gonna get to the themes now. I was gonna save it for the end, but let's just bring in the theme because I know that some people, I've read some comments out there, not just on the YouTube that I'm on my YouTube channel, but also comments on other Watchmen review videos, and also the comments on some of the web forums on the internet, and some of them say, I don't get this whole thing with Watchmen series being all racially driven. Some comments out there, they just they don't want they have a picture of Watchmen like the Alan Moore's Watchmen. So for them to see Watchmen being used by Damien Lindelof as some sort of a vehicle to address racism and prejudice and bigotry, some people don't like that. Some people don't like that. And oh, Amy says, "Do you think it's like a woke series?" Somewhat, somewhat. Reginald said, "If nostalgia pills were real, would you take them?" The answer to that is I don't know. Just like if you ask me, do I take the red pill or the blue pill? The Matrix. Um, I the thing is, it's fun to be in the Matrix, right? You can be whatever you want. You can be successful. You can be in the real world. You could, in the real world, you probably be broke. You can't. You're doing a dead end job. So maybe the blue pill sounds more appealing than the red pill. So the nostalgia pill, would I take them? I don't know. It had to be probably my memories, my own memories, not somebody else's memories. But back to the themes here. Um, so some people out there is like, why is this Watchmen series so, racially driven? Like, why can't it just stick to the themes that Alan Moore created? Well, my response to that, and it also goes to the episode tonight, um, because tonight's episode is very, very racial driven, right? Racially driven, hooded justice against KKK. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Alan Moore, when he made Watchmen, for that decade in the '80s, he was tackling a bunch of issues that are relevant to that era. Issues that probably in that era was like, maybe some of them are like, why did you want to address this? It's not necessarily that they're considered taboo, but they're like, oh, can we just stick to sunshine and rainbows, or like, good guys kicking bad guys ass and without the whole underlining themes? But I think it's brave that Alan Moore's like, you know what, we're gonna address Vietnam War, man. We're gonna address what it's like if Richard Nixon's still around, man. We're gonna push the envelope, man. And he was very bold, and so that was his way of challenging that era's generation. Um, and so fast forward to 30 years later to now, 2019. I think there's nothing wrong with Damon Lindelof um, applying the same boldness, by challenging us, the audience, but using today's themes because people, some people might find racism or bigotry or addressing police brutality, police shooting unarmed black people. They might find that uncomfortable. They might find that uncouth or like, why do we? I don't want to hear that. Could you please, can we talk about something else? Some people are like that, and that's their deal. But the fact of the matter is that is still happening in today's world. Unfortunately, I watched the movie Fruitvale Station, starring Michael B. Jordan. Man, that kid really got killed like less than a decade ago. I mean, that's not like 30, 40 years ago. And so it still continues to happen. Like Baltimore cops, I think a few years ago, Baltimore PD, a bunch of them got indicted, man, for not just flat out racism and breaking the laws while on duty, but they got caught doing shit they're not supposed to do on camera, like body cam caught them doing shit. So that's the stuff that's happening today. If the stuff that happened in Alan Moore's era, is still happening today, then I think I would say that Damon Lindelof probably would want to tackle that. But I think Damon Lindelof, like, you know what? Let's be bold, just like Alan Moore was bold, but using topical stuff, using timely stuff, the ones that we're still dealing with. And back to the episode tonight. It, I went to a civil rights museum, I want to say a few years ago in Atlanta. Man, some of the stuff that white folks did to black people in the 40s, 30s, 20s, even 50s, 60s in the civil rights era. Damn, dude, the Jim Crow's era. Oh, I mean, if you think that today's episode in Watchmen, you watch the Cyclops and the KKKs, and you're like, you know what? I'm on the side of hooded justice. Fuck those guys, man. Yeah, shoot them all, whatever. Shoot them in the head, kill them, whatever. Um, that comes from the. What I want to say is that if you think that today's episode, what the white people did to William Reeve and all the black folks, if you think that's rough, you ain't seen the half of it. What happened in real life, it was bad. All right. I went to that civil rights museum and I came out like really transformed because I was like, holy crap, I had no idea the extent of how horrible white folks were to black people in those eras. And and unfortunately, tonight is just I don't want to say mild, but somewhat of an illustration of what happened. Um, Unfortunately, it still spills over in today's world, in today's generation, i in present day. I think my theory is that I'm sorry if I'm a little preachy here, but my theory is that here, I think we as Americans, our society, we have never been encouraged to, what's the word I'm looking for, to reconciliate, yeah, to face the sins of our past. Um, when we read them in the history books, or like maybe see a documentary about it, for example, like, oh, we put Japanese Americans in internment camps. That's bad. Okay, let's move on. We've set them free, and then we move on. And that's what happened too. Once America's like, oh, this is not good, let's set them free from the camps, and let's pretend that never happened. That was a bad policy. But the damage was already done. A lot of those guys, know, feel betrayed by their own country. And a lot of black folks, even though they're American citizens for many, many years, feel like they're not Americans. And we never deal with that. You know, we never deal with that as a people. Like the audiences who just don't feel comfortable about those kinds of stuff. Like I don't want to hear about it. It's like that's not good. So in a way, what Damon Lindelof did here is he challenges us to deal with it. Like, hey, this, you may not want to hear this, but this is happening. Unfortunately, this is happening, and it continues to happen unless we face the reality that we have sinned against our own folk, our own fellow citizens. And I remember watching this documentary showing, I think in Germany, I believe, today's Germany, present Germany, where in the schools they would really teach the kids the hard, cold fact about their country's sinful past in World War One and World War Two, especially World War Two. So they really instill in them, like, hey, what we did was unforgivable. What we did was terrible as a people. And it's not a way to kind of like plant guilty feeling or anything like that, but it's a way to humble themselves as a people. Like, oh my God, we have sinned even against our fellow citizens who are Jewish. They're German citizens, but we killed them. And so that's Germany's way of making sure that the next generation and the next generation, keep remembering, that they remember about the prejudice and the bigotry and the hatred that they committed so that it can never happen again. Um, Unfortunately, in America, that kind of reminder only happens in movies and in shows and in books, but there doesn't seem to be a realization, unfortunately, uh, as a people, as a society, as a group, as a unit. Um, so I think what Damon Lindelof did here or has done here with Watchmen, I commend him for that. I think it's fantastic. It's Watchmen that speaks to our time. It's a Watchmen that speaks to our society. It's a Watchmen that speaks to the reality that we as a people face today. Not we as a people that face. Not it's not the Watchmen for the 80s. It's the Watchmen for now. So I think it's great. And so to wrap this up, um, now that we know how William Reeves hung the police chief, now that Angela Abar, Sister Knight, knows how that all went down, now that she knows her history, um, she's now, I think, facing a dilemma because we only have 3 episodes left. Will she will she give up William Reeve to the FBI lady? You know, Silk Spectre, Laura Jupiter. What's she gonna do? She has this option now, but she ends up in the bed belonging to Lady True, who is a very eccentric character played by Hong Chow. Now, Lady True is friends with William Reeve, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So now she's facing the dilemma like, okay, now that I know the past and my granddad is actually a good guy, even though, he probably you shouldn't kill people along the way. But hey, the police chief is a freaking racist. But then, should I turn him in? What do I do now? It's like, because based on what I know now about his past, I kind of side with him, and me too as an audience. Like, he's kind of cool. When he shoots those guys in the warehouse, and then he ends up like strangling the guy that's doing the hypnosis. Um, Call me a bad guy, but I was cheering for him. Remember, I'm the kind of guy who loves revenge movies. I'm the kind of guy who loves when villains get what's coming to them. How many times I've told you this? So when he's like, pow, and that was a pretty cool scene too. He apparently William Reeves is a fantastic marksman, man. He shoots like pow right in the head too, like all of them, pow, pow, pow. Oh man, um, so awesome, so awesome. So it's gonna be interesting to see where Angela Abar, aka Sister Knight, will stand. You know, what side, which side, will she decide to be on? So I'm gonna be really tuning in for the last three episodes. It's gonna be awesome. Reginald says Damon Lindelof is a genius. Exactly. Love him to death. I've met Damon Lindelof once at Comic Con. Fantastic guy. I haven't had the opportunity to interview him yet. Unfortunately, I don't know if I ever will. Damon Lindelof is such a big celebrity. I only get to interview, up and coming celebrities for most of the time. So, but yeah, he's a genius. I agree. So that's it. Sorry for the long rant. That's my full review, live stream review of tonight's episode of Watchmen. This extraordinary being. Let me know your thoughts about it. Do you agree or disagree with my assessment? Um, what did you think of tonight's episode? And of course, subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/Rama Screen. All right. Thanks for tuning in, you guys, and I'll be back next week as well. Let's rock this. Greetings, Light Patrick Particle. Light Particle 9. There you go. Greetings. Peace.